Hello and welcome to Nakik World Podcast, coming to you live from Beijing, the capital city of the People's Republic of China. I am your host, RJ. This is episode 8 of season 1 in our series on personal development and growth. Today we want to focus on the theme, developing your self-compassion. Now, Dr. Kristen Neff, a leading researcher on self-compassion and a professor at the University of Texas, Austin, USA, states that self-compassion means being gentle, kind, and understanding with yourself, accepting that you are not perfect, and understanding that there is potential for learning and growth in every mistake you make. Having compassion for yourself means that you honor and accept your humanness. You understand that things will not always go the way you want them to. You will encounter frustrations, losses will occur, you will make mistakes, bump up against your own limitations, fall short of your ideals. This is a human condition, a reality shared by all of us. Nobody is spared of this. The more you open your heart to this reality, instead of constantly fighting against it, the more you will be able to feel compassion for yourself first, and then all your fellow human beings in your life. Self-compassion creates a sense of self-worth because it leads people to genuinely care about their own well-being. People with high levels of self-compassion demonstrate 3 behaviors. Let me give this to you. First, they are kind rather than judgmental about their own failures and mistakes. These are people with high levels of self-compassion. Secondly, they recognize that failures are a shared human experience. That everybody experiences failure. That's the second behavior that a person with a high level of compassion demonstrates. The third behavior is they take a balanced approach to negative emotions when they stumble or fall short. They allow themselves to feel bad, but they don't let the negative emotions take over. Those are the behaviors that people with high compassion, self-compassion displays. Having self-compassion means being able to recognize the difference between making a bad decision and being a bad person. Let me repeat that. If you have self-compassion, you know what is a bad decision and what is a bad person. So when you make a decision, when you do something wrong, you know that decision, the person wasn't bad, but the decision that was made was a bad decision. Not he or she is not a bad person, or you are not a bad person if you've made a bad decision. Many people are able to extend compassion towards others, but find it difficult to extend the same compassion towards themselves. We are hard on ourselves. We don't forgive ourselves that easily. A lack of compassion for yourself can play a role in mental health conditions. If you're hard on yourself, you don't even feel for yourself. This can lead to health conditions. For example, many people find it difficult to feel self-compassion, feeling compassion for themselves after they've had a troubling experience. And especially when self-compassion is linked to the inner mind, to self-pity. And you, instead of being able to identify that you're actually feeling compassion for yourself, you equate it with self-pity. Let's look at maybe an example in real life. People go through a divorce, sometimes difficult divorce. They have feelings of guilt and shame. They feel that, they have failed in their marriage and they are undeserving of a second chance of healing. And that is judging yourself. And this self-judgment leads to conditions such as anxiety, insecurity, and sometimes even depression. Because you're hard on yourself. Self-compassion, however, often allows people to accept their failures, to move past them, and to try again. You know what? Practicing self-compassion can help you become more motivated, self-assured, and confident. If you are serious about making money online from home, then visit smmenterprisesonline.com. smmenterprisesonline.com. You're listening to Nakik World Podcast, coming to you live from Beijing, the capital city of the People's Republic of China. Please follow and like our Facebook page, follow us on Twitter and Instagram, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and subscribe to our Naked World podcast. Now, let us look at the three elements of self-compassion as identified by Professor Kristin Neff, which I've mentioned earlier, the leading researcher on self-compassion. She has identified these elements. The one first is self-kindness versus self-judgment. Let's look at this. Self-compassion entails being warm and understanding towards ourselves when we suffer, we fail, or we feel inadequate, rather than ignoring our pain or beating ourselves with self-criticism. So, self-compassionate people recognizes that being imperfect, failing, and experiencing life difficulties is inevitable. So they tend to be gentle with themselves when confronted with painful experiences, rather than getting angry when life falls short of their set ideals. People cannot always be or get exactly what they want. When this reality is denied or fought against, suffering increases in the form of stress, frustration, and self-criticism. When this reality is accepted with sympathy and kindness, greater emotional composure is experienced. That's the first element that Professor Neff identified. Self-kindness versus self-judgment. Being kind to yourself rather than judging yourself. The second element that she identified is the common humanity versus isolation. Frustration at not having things exactly as we want it is often accompanied by an irrational but pervasive sense of isolation. As if I were the only person suffering or making mistakes. Remember, common humanity versus isolation. The understanding that it's not only me, that others suffer the same way. All humans suffer. The very definition of being a human means that one is mortal, one is vulnerable, and one is imperfect. It's not only in the I. Therefore, self-compassion involves recognizing that suffering and personal inadequacy is part of the shared human experience, something that we all go through, rather than being something that happens to me alone, the I and the me. That was the second element that she identified, this common humanity versus isolation, that we understand. And then the third element that she identified was mindfulness versus over-identification. Self-compassion also requires us to take a balanced approach to our negative emotions, so that feelings are neither suppressed nor exaggerated. You don't suppress your feelings and you don't exaggerate your feelings. This balance stance stems from the process of relating personal experiences to those of others who are also suffering. This way, putting our own situation into a larger perspective. It also stems from the willingness to observe our negative thoughts and emotions with openness and clarity, so that they will help in a mindful awareness. Mindfulness is a non-judgmental, receptive mind state in which one observes thoughts and feelings as they are without trying to suppress or deny them. We cannot ignore our pain and feel compassion for it at the same time. At the same time, mindfulness requires that we not be over-identified with thoughts and feelings, so that we are caught up and swept away by negative reaction. Remember this last one, mindfulness. Are you interested in doing an online tourism business course? Visit tourismbusinessonline.com. tourismbusinessonline.com. You're listening to Naked World podcast, coming to you live from Beijing, the capital city of the People's Republic of China. Please follow and like our Facebook page, follow us on Twitter and Instagram, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and subscribe to our Naked World podcast. Well, in this segment, we want to look at how we practice self-compassion. Cultivating self-compassion skills involves radically altering the way we relate to ourselves, training our mind to notice our inner critic and choose a kinder response is key to cultivating our self-compassion skills. Step 1, let's practice forgiveness and be kind to yourself. Stop punishing yourself for your mistakes. Accept that you're not perfect and be gentle with yourself when you are confronted with your shortcomings. Understand that you do not need to be a certain way to be worthy of love. Be kind to yourself. Practice forgiveness. And then step 2, employ a growth mindset. I mentioned in a previous episode about what a growth mindset means. You know, this unlimited potential. Believe in the mind that you have got unlimited potential. You know, as opposed to a fixed mindset. Right? Do you view challenges as impossible obstacles or as opportunities to grow? That's the difference between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. You know, the one with a fixed mindset sees challenges as impossible obstacles you can't overcome. The one with a growth mindset sees these challenges as opportunities to grow. So employing a growth mindset is more helpful. Embrace rather than avoid challenges. Persist in finding meaning in them and don't give up on yourself. When you find you are criticizing yourself and negatively comparing yourself with others, try to find inspiration in their successes and strengths instead of feeling threatened by it. Employ a growth mindset. Now, step number 4, express gratitude. Rather than wishing for what we do not have, there's strength in appreciating what do we have right now. By focusing on our blessings, we employ a gentler inner voice and move the focus away from our shortcomings. Step 4, remember that you're not alone. To feel is to be human. Give yourself room to be human, to be flawed, have mistakes. Whatever we're going through is also experienced by millions of others. If we can recognize our shared humanity, that not one of us is perfect, we can begin to feel more connected to others with the sense that we are all in this together. And then, lastly again, coming back to the mindful state. The mindful state, a state of being non-judgmental. Mindfulness is a non-judgmental, receptive mindset, in which one observes thoughts and feelings as they are without pushing them away or denying them. When you are mindful of your feelings or experiences, you are able to be kinder and more compassionate to yourself. Strive to always be in the moment and to be aware of what is happening right now without judgment and labeling. Allow what you think or feel to have its moment. Don't rush through life. Allow it to come, and then without attachment, let it go. You're listening to Naked World podcast, coming to you live from Beijing, the capital city of the People's Republic of China. Please follow and like our Facebook page, follow us on Twitter and Instagram, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and subscribe to our Naked World podcast. We've come to the final segment of this episode, and now we want to look at the self-compassion. Again, vis-a-vis self-pity. Self-compassion is not self-pity. When people feel self-pity, they become immersed in their own problems and forget that others have similar problems. That is what self-pity is. Self-pitying individuals often become carried away with and wrapped in their own emotional drama. They cannot step back from their situation and adopt a more balanced or objective perspective. Self-compassion, on the other hand, allows one to see the related experiences of ourselves and others without these feelings of isolation and disconnection. Self-compassion is also very different from self-indulgence. Many people say they are reluctant to be self-compassionate because they are afraid they would let themselves get away with anything, like they would go into indulgence. The care inherent in compassion provides a powerful motivating force for growth in change, whilst also providing the safety needed to see the self clearly without fear of self-condemnation. Remember this. You are worthy of love. So next time, if you do not rise to the expectations that you have of yourself, take a moment to pause and to reassess. Accept yourself. You're not perfect. It is important to remember that self-compassion is a skill. And the more you practice being kinder to yourself, the easier and more natural those thinking habits will become. Self-compassion is a powerful inner resource. We all face struggles, big and small, internal and external. The pursuit of self-compassion allows us to face these obstacles with a sense that we are on our own team and we are part of a larger team. That brings us to the end of episode 8 of season 1. Please follow and like our Facebook page, follow us on Instagram, Twitter, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and subscribe to NACIG World Podcast. Remember, NACIG World Podcast is broadcasted twice weekly, every Tuesday and Thursday at 1500 hours, 3 p.m. Beijing time. So until next time, goodbye from a wonderful and lovely Beijing in mainland China.